In the last stream, we were working on setting up all of the machinery and related infrastructure required to get this diesel generator right here up and running. We got down the squeezer, we got down the fermenter, the refinery, the diesel generator itself, and then 6 garden cloches, all of which are growing either industrial hemp seeds or, at least at the end of the last stream, watermelons. However, as you can see between streams, I have swapped out the watermelons here for sugar because I think the watermelons were the problem that were causing us to not generate enough biodiesel to keep this running at the end of the last stream. So basically, the initial idea of using watermelon over sugarcane was that for every 1 melon, we get 9 melon slices, and each melon slice gets us 20 millibuckets of ethanol. Thus, 1 melon equates to 180 millibuckets of ethanol, whereas 1 piece of sugarcane, which you also get per 1 growth cycle, only gets you 80 millibuckets. So you get an extra 100 millibuckets of ethanol for every watermelon that you grow. The problem is that we didn't really have a bottleneck with the garden cloches. Our bottleneck was getting enough power into the fermenter. And so whilst per watermelon, you do get an extra 100 millibuckets of ethanol, you also have to use 9 times as much power because 1 piece of sugarcane gets 40 millibuckets of ethanol, whereas 1 piece of watermelon only gets you 20. So you've got to do 4 watermelons in the fermenter to get the same amount of ethanol as 1 sugarcane. So I think that was our problem. We were using too much power in the fermenter to do too much because we had so many melons that individually weren't producing enough ethanol. And so either way, long story short, I've replaced the watermelons over here with sugarcane. We now have, as you can see, a nice backlog of both sugarcane and of seeds. The reason for that is that between streams, I have gone ahead and turned off the diesel generator. I've put down this lever here and flicked it on. So right now, the diesel generator isn't doing anything, which isn't really a huge deal because right now, the base is running just fine without that extra power. Like, we have enough to keep our refined storage system up and running. However, at some point in the near future, once we actually start to require more than the 200 redstone flux per tick being generated by both of our water wheels, we can just walk over and flick this lever right here. At which point, the horrible sound of the diesel generator will begin whirring away in the background, producing up to 4,096 redstone flux per tick for us to use in our base. Now, speaking of the diesel generator, one thing that we did mention a little bit at the end of the last stream, and one thing that I would like to start working towards in today's stream, is the creative tank from the Create mod. This one right here. It is craftable in a tier 5 blood altar with 1 million life points. But once we have that creative tank, we can then get an unlimited amount of almost any liquid that we want. And essentially, what we can then do is we can utilize that unlimited liquid to get unlimited biodiesel, and at that point we could set up as many diesel generators as we want to produce really as much power as we like, and we can use that power to increase our resource production over here by investing in some bigger machines that can process ores faster, and at that point we should be able to really spiral and get a ton of resources fairly easily. However, getting the tier 5 altar here and getting 1 million life points is probably going to be a little tricky. If we look in the Sanguine Centium here, the Blood Magic book, and we go to Blood Altars and the Blood Altar, in order to upgrade from where we are now, which is a tier 3 Blood Altar, to where we need to be, which is a tier 5 Blood Altar, we need to get 4 of these large Bloodstone bricks, we need to get 4 regular Minecraft beacons, and we need to get a bunch of extra runes. Now, I believe the quest book does walk us through this. If we go down to magic over here, yeah, we have to kind of go through this quest line right here, starting with the Edge of the Hidden Realm. So this is another ritual, much like the one that we used earlier to generate lava. However, this one is a little bit different in that once you put the multi-block structure together and activate the ritual, it actually transforms all of the ritual stones, including the Master Ritual Stone, into a portal. The idea here being that we have to head through to a different dimension to get Tau Fruit. We can then use the Tau Fruit to grow saturated Tau, and then once we have that saturated Tau, that's how we get weak blood shards. The weak blood shards here can only be made with the saturated Tau. You can technically use a Master Blood Orb in an alchemical reaction chamber to get a weak blood shard. However, the Master Blood Orb itself requires a weak blood shard in order to be made. So this really isn't worth it, like unless you really need to turn your Master Blood Orb back into a weak blood shard, which I don't really see us needing to do. Once we have the weak blood shard, though, at that point, we can then go ahead and fairly easily craft up the large bloodstone bricks required to make the tier 4 blood altar, and then from there, all we have to do is get 4 nether stars, and that should allow us to make the 4 beacons required to get that tier 5 altar. And then from there, the tricky bit is just getting 1 million life points into the system in order to actually craft the tank that we're after. Now, between streams, I have done a little bit of Dagger of Sacrificing, and I have managed to get a couple of slates. We've got 48 blank slates and 2 reinforced slates here. I think that should be enough to get us the 36 ritual stones that we need. We do already have 4 from the previous lava ritual that we set up, so we just need 32 more of these ritual stones. So to make that, we are going to have to get 32 reinforced slates and 32 blank slates. So we are going to need a couple more of both of these. Now, before I get started with that, I think one thing that it's probably going to be worthwhile us investing in is an altar. This one right here, an incense altar. This is a pretty nifty block that you can transform into a pretty big multi-block that increases the number of life points that you get every time you use the sacrificial knife. Because although we do have zombies here, and we do have a zombie spawner up here, it's not particularly fast, and so a lot of the life points that I have been using to generate these slates here have been coming from the sacrificial knife. And so I think it's probably well worth investing in something that's going to allow us to increase the amount of LP that we get per use of that sacrificial knife. So if we quickly look to make it, it's just 4 stone, 2 cobblestone, 1 charcoal, and 1 blood orb. As per usual with recipes like this, you do get the blood orb back, so you don't actually use the blood orb in the creation of the altar. And if we go ahead and hit control here, it will open up the altar page in the book. And it says the incense altar is a multi-block structure that can be used to boost your self-sacrificing at the blood altar. By standing near your setup, the incense altar will calm your soul based on the area's tranquility, allowing you to significantly increase your LP gains. So the way this works, if we head over a few more pages here, is we can build something like this, a fairly large multi-block structure, which, depending on how big you make it, can increase the amount of LP you get anywhere from 20% all the way up to 200%. So you can get almost triple the amount of LP per use of the dagger if we go all the way to the worn stone path. The obsidian stone path does go further, but as you can see, the obsidian is not yet implemented, so that doesn't actually work at the moment. However, I think this should be fairly easy for us to do. I have spent a little bit of time between streams changing the decor of this lower area here. We now have the same kind of theme as we have on our upper floors. We've got some encased brick, encased glowstone, and regular seared brick around the edges here. And I think if we're going to set up this incense altar, we're probably going to have to dig out a little bit of space underneath the regular blood altar here, because if I am not mistaken, you need to be within 5 blocks of the incense altar in order to get its effect. But then the incense altar multi-block can get quite big, so you do want to build it a little further away from the actual blood altar. Like, I don't think we can get away with just putting it like right there. I don't think that's going to work. So I think what I might do here is I might go maybe 1, 2, 3, and then maybe put it like here, and then start building down from there. So real quick, I'm going to clear out an area here for this incense altar. So I've dug out like a preliminary area here. And basically, if we quickly head on back up to the surface, I think what we are going to try and do is we're going to try and get the stone path 120% boost to our sacrificial dagger. Eventually, we can look at getting the worn stone path. However, the worn stone here does require a master blood orb. As we saw earlier, the master blood orb does require that weak blood shard, which not only requires the tier 4 altar, but also requires the weak blood shard, which requires the tower fruit, which is what we're kind of working towards doing later on in today's stream. So for now, we're going to go just for the regular stone path, this one right here. Thankfully, it is super easy to make. It is just 4 stone with 1 blood orb, either magicians or masters. I'm fairly certain that we do have a magician's blood orb lying around. It is quite possible that that blood orb is over in our alchemy table. It totally is. If we grab that and head on back up here, we should be able to make all of the path that we're going to need for the setup we're going to go with. I think we're going to need 48 stone path. So I'm probably just going to go ahead and make a stack here just to make it easier so we don't have to keep clicking. But essentially, what we're going to do is, again, if we look in the book, you essentially make rings around the incense altar. And it shows you it here, albeit in a little bit of a weird way. So this is like a side-on view, and you can see that here they're showing different ways you can do it. Here they've got like one ring here, then another, then another, then another, and it kind of goes like this. Each one of these are rings that go out. This is doing the same thing, but it's showing it with like wider rings, if that makes sense. We're going to go with the kind of first pattern here, where each one goes diagonally up or down from the previous. And so essentially the plan is to have stone brick around like this. And by the way, this 3x3 platform underneath the incense altar can be made of anything. It doesn't have to be made of cobblestone. In fact, I'll probably swap ours out in the near future for something that's not cobblestone. For now though, the first ring we're going to put down like this. Now, as I showed before, you can put the second ring down just like this and put the extra 3 around. You don't have to fully do this, like you don't have to encase it. All you have to do is put down the 3 like this here. However, you can go 1 up or 1 down on each consecutive ring. And I think it's going to look a little bit cooler if we do go 1 up or 1 down here. So essentially, my plan is to go down, then down again, and then back up for the next ring. So at any point in time, you can go up or down. So you could go down, then up, then down, then up, and make like a wide altar. You could go all the way down. You could go all the way up and have the incense altar be at the bottom of your multi-block structure. But my plan here is to do something like this. And you can do more than 4 rings, but from my testing, 4 rings is what is going to allow us to get enough tranquility to get our bonus in the top left there up to 120%. So now that we have all of these down, you'll notice that we still have 0 tranquility and our bonus is still just 20%, which is not nothing, but we can make it better. So the way that we actually increase our tranquility is by placing tranquil items down in the areas near the path. So if we look here, again, it does say that the blocks that are the same level or up to 2 blocks above the path block's ring count towards the total tranquility. These are indicated by the grass blocks. So basically here, I believe the way this works is that these are the block's ring, the path's ring. So like this here is the ring for this level, if that makes sense. So we've got level 1, whose ring is here, level 2, whose ring is here, level 3's ring is going to be further down, and then level 4's ring is back up again, right? So level 3's ring is down in this area, and the level 4's ring is like up here. And so if you put tranquil items or tranquil blocks into these areas, that will increase the tranquility. Now, in the book, it does tell us, if we head on over, what tranquil blocks are. It shows right here that lava, water, including most waterlogged blocks, life essence, which is LP, the stuff you put in the blood altar, netherrack, dirt, farmland, potatoes, carrots, wheat, netherwort, beetroots, leaves, logs, fire, and grass. So real quick, if I were to grab just some regular old logs from upstairs, and I were to drop those down anywhere in these inner rings, so for example, I put one here, that should increase the tranquility. And it does. The tranquility is now 100, and we have a bonus of 26% as opposed to 20. We could do the same all around here, like that. Our tranquility should go up any second now. There it is. It's now at 200. You'll notice that there are diminishing returns for using the same block multiple times. So the first bit of wood got us 100 tranquility, but then 3 more also got us 100. So we get less for every consecutive bit of wood that you put down. So the more wood you have, the less each bit of wood is worth. And just as the book said, you can go a bit higher as well. So that should increase our tranquility just a little bit. It does. We only got 23 for that one, but that's fine. We could, if we wanted to, do something like that. And that's going to increase it to 282 and give us a bonus of 38%. So that's how this works. Now what we need to do is we need to kind of fill in this area with a bunch of tranquil stuff to increase this up to 120%. And I think that it is particularly thematic to go with like the nether themed stuff in the list here. So things that we can go with include netherrack, netherwort, fire, lava, and logs. I believe we can use the nether logs, the stems, the warped stems and the crimson stems. And so I think what I'm going to do is, do we have, first of all, any netherwort? Because that was on the list. We do not. So I think what we're going to try and do here, first of all, is go and grab our jetpack, which I did put on charge between streams. We'll reapply that to our backpack. Second of all, let's quickly dump this junk that we've got in our inventory. and then we'll also put these away for safekeeping. Let's head on through to the nether, and let's see if we can't get some netherrack, which I do want to put down, as well as some nether wart, and also a couple buckets of lava. Although I guess we don't really need to get lava from the nether because we do have this tank here, which should, in theory, be full of lava. So not too long later, we are thankfully very close to a nether fortress, so getting nether wart really wasn't too difficult, and the emerald jetpack here really did make it quite easy to fly around and find a crimson forest, so getting the crimson stem and the nether wart that grows on top of it fairly easy. So my plan here is to kind of make a like a nether themed tranquility altar around the outside here. I did accidentally break this block, which I didn't mean to, but if we do something like this and then drop these on top, that should give us some increased tranquility. We're at 283. And then from there, we got some soul sand and some soul soil. The soul sand I was going to put down for nether wart, so we could do something like this, something like this. The soul sand in and of itself, I'm pretty sure doesn't give you a tranquility bonus. However, putting the nether wart down on top of the soul sand, like this, does give us tranquility. Look at that, we're up to 50% and 456 on the tranquility. Yeah, you do get diminishing returns on this. And so it could be, it is more beneficial to make something that's a bit more haphazard with just like all of the tranquil things down. But I also do want this to kind of look a little nice as well. We're up at 62%. We then do have some netherrack. So I'm thinking I'm going to put the netherrack into these gaps here. The netherrack itself, unlike the soul sand, does actually count towards our tranquility bonus, which is fantastic. And then I think I might put down even more soul sand, like around the edge here. Now, my initial plan was going to be to put lava into this little divot, like into here. And I think I might still do that. Whilst we were in the nether, though, I did see some soul fire, which you can get by putting down soul sand and lighting it with a flint and steel. So I might try and incorporate some of that as well. Right now, we're up at 85%. Again, we can put more nether wart down around the edges here. We are going to get vastly diminished returns from that nether wart at this point. Yeah, you see that took us from 84 up to 89. However, I think if we were to quickly go and craft up maybe some netherrack slabs, these guys right here, what we should probably be able to do, if we also grab a bucket, is continue to take some of the lava from our lava source over here. Might as well grab an extra bucket while we're at it. And essentially start putting down lava in these spaces. Now, I do believe that having more source blocks down does help us here. So the one source block takes us to 100. If we add another source block, like right there, that takes up to 103. So yeah, it is worth having extra source blocks. The running lava doesn't actually give you any benefit. And not too long later, we now have lava in all of the corners. I did have to add a different tank here. So we had a weird, I assume it's a bug, but if I ever try to extract lava from the ender tank using my bucket, my game crashes. It does say waiting for server in the top left there, so it could be a server issue, I'm not too sure. But there is lava in there. If I right click, it shows me there's 32 buckets in. And if I extract, it does pull the lava into this tank. The same's true with this tank down here. But yeah, if I try and extract with the bucket, the game just crashes. So the workaround is to extract the lava and then pull it out like this. That seems to work for whatever reason. But either way, over here, we are currently at 117% bonus. Now, given that we're currently only using stone path, we can't go higher than 117. We'd have to upgrade to that one path to get up to 200%. So I think, to be honest, just adding down more nether wart around the edges here is probably going to take us up to that 120%. Yeah, there it is. So we're already at 120%. So this is technically all you need to actually get it done. Also, we don't have the stone here. But I think I will spend a little bit of time here adding a few more bits and pieces just to try and make this look a little nicer. Okay, so not too long later, I've replaced the cobblestone in the middle here with nether bricks. I've also replaced like the outer edge with nether bricks, and I've added some blue fire by putting down soul soil and lighting that where we had nether wart before. So now there's nether wart just on the outside of the ring here. Fire does also count as tranquil, and so our tranquility right now is up at 1,507, giving us a bonus of 120%. And you may have noticed earlier that our sacrificial knife is now glowing orange, which means it has been activated by the incense altar and should be good to go. So if we come up here, right now we have got 1,885 millibuckets of life points in the top left there in our blood altar. Another benefit of the altar is that usually when you use the sacrificial dagger, you have to right click multiple times to get rid of half a heart each time. Whereas once you have the altar down, if your sword is glowing, you can just right click once and it will take all but one of your hearts away and dump all of that LP directly into the blood altar. And you'll see now that we're all the way up at 6,240. Of course, we can take this yet further because right now we just have runes of capacity and speed runes in our altar. We can add a couple of runes of self-sacrifice. Each rune of self-sacrifice gives an extra 10% additively to the amount that we get per LP given. And that does work with the incense altar. So if we added more runes of self-sacrifice to this, we could increase the amount of life points that we get for every sacrifice even further, which I think is definitely going to be worth investing in. I do also think it's probably going to be worth getting even more speed runes as well, because we're going to have to make a lot of blank slates if we're going to get a big altar, and also if we're going to get a lot of the items from Blood Magic required to get through to tier 4. Thankfully, we do now have a giant sugarcane farm, well, a fairly small sugarcane farm, but we do have 2,048 sugarcane over here, and so we can very quickly get multiple stacks of sugar, which should make getting more of these speedruns here fairly easy. We do also have a ton of stone, like 17,000, and so really the only tricky part is actually getting the blank slates, which again, if we have more speedruns down, should be quite fast. I do think, if I'm not mistaken, we can automate this using pipes. So if we grab, for example, some item pipes, and specifically if we grab an advanced pipe upgrade, what we should be able to do is bring this down. And this one, by the way, was the one out of the melon pipe, because the sugarcane no longer needs advanced filtering like the melon draw did. But what we should be able to do up here is we should be able to extract from the altar and then insert into a drawer like that. And if we grab our wrench, we can set this to extract. We can add in the advanced pipe upgrade. Instead of whitelisting melons, we can whitelist blank runes. And at that point, what we should then be able to do is also maybe grab like a hopper, thus allowing us to put stone in on one side and then hopefully have that stone automatically get turned into blank runes, and then the blank runes will get extracted when they become blank runes. And of course, we can change this whenever we need it. You know, if we needed some reinforced slates, not blank runes, sorry, blank slates. I keep saying blank runes. But whenever we need reinforced slates, we could just change the whitelist here. And in doing so, we can change what we want the altar to make. So here, if we go add, blank slate, submit. And then over on this side, if we drop down a hopper like that, and we put some stone in, what we should see is we should see that stone get fed through into here. You'll see it in the top left there. LP is being used, and as soon as it gets transformed into a blank rune, a blank slate, it gets pulled out and sent around into the drawer. Nice. Now, I do think we might have a slight problem here in that if I put a full stack of stone in, I think it does put all of the stone in at once, which is not necessarily a problem, but it's also kind of a problem. Because you'll see here that the progress bar there is 1,000 out of 20,000. So it is trying to turn all of the stone into runes. And the craft won't complete unless it has enough LP to do all of the stone, which we're not going to have. So we could really do with a system that only ever puts one stone in at a time. So a little while later, it looks like I don't think there's an easy way for us to limit the amount of stone going into the blood altar. There are a few mods we have installed, like XNet, that we could potentially use in the future to allow us to do it. But for right now, the easiest thing for us to do seems to be to just place like 5 stone in at a time. 5 is about the amount, or 5,000 is about the amount of LP we get per one use of our sacrificial dagger. You'll see that we're at 5,000 here. If we use it, we go up to almost 10,000. Obviously, it's actively being drained to do the 5 that we just put in. But this does seem to be working. However, I do think that at the moment, what we should be doing is trying to get the 32 ritual stone that we're going to need in order to actually progress through with this quest line here to get to that tier 4 altar. And in order to do that, people did point out that we actually don't need to use this recipe. This recipe down here with obsidian is going to be a lot easier, especially now that we have an infinite obsidian generator. And so what we should probably do is change the filtering here to be a reinforced slate instead of a blank slate. Submit. And then now we just need to get 32 reinforced slates, which we can do in the exact same way that we have been doing for the blank slates, because we changed the filter. When reinforced slates are made, they get extracted. All right, so not too long later, that should be 32 reinforced slates. It is nice. We did add more speed runes. There's quite a few in here now. It's still not particularly fast, but it is definitely faster than it was previously. And so now what we should be able to do, if we come over here, is we should be able to craft up 32 ritual stones if we have enough obsidian in the system, which we currently do not. However, we do, of course, have a very large amount of obsidian down here. So if we quickly grab a stack of that, bring that up, drop the reinforced slates and the obsidian into the system, we can craft up 32 ritual stones. We can then combine those with the 4 that we have, and the master ritual stone, that's going to complete the Edge of the Hidden Realm quest and give us an iron key as a reward. So now we actually have to build this multi-block structure. I do believe we're going to want to have the ritual diviner, which we might have in here. We do. Also, I'm going to kind of try and empty out my inventory just a little bit here, because we've got a lot of stuff that we don't necessarily need to be carrying around with us at all times. Now, I'm fairly certain that this ritual is fairly large. If we shift right click with the ritual diviner, we're looking for the Edge of the Hidden Realm. And I think if I put this down, does it show me how big it is? It does, yeah. So it's a fairly tall ritual. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks tall. I think what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to try and reuse the area down by our nether portal. So kind of how we've got something here in the wall. I'm going to do something similar over on this side. I think we're going to clear out space and put the ritual right here. Again, in the future, I would like to move that nether portal to a new location. But for the time being, I think we'll get rid of some of this dirt here. And we'll try and make a 5x5 space just next to the blood altar room. So I've cleared out a bit of space here, and I've even embedded this in the floor by one. And so now what we have to do, once you have the ritual diviner set to the right ritual, and you have all of the ritual stones in your inventory, is just begin right-clicking on the master ritual stone, much like we did before. That's going to start to automatically place down all of the runes in the correct place. We then do have to activate the ritual, and as it shows in the quest book, we need 80,000 LP in our blood network in order to activate it. It is activated in the exact same way as all the other rituals. That's using the activation crystal. I do believe that we have a weak activation crystal in our backpack. We totally do. I thought it was in the system, but it was not. That's fine. So all we have to do now is make sure that we have 80,000 LP in our blood network. Right now, we've got 2,609. But thankfully, we do now have this altar. And so if we go ahead and use our dagger a few times, we should be able to get that up to 80,000, hopefully, fairly quickly. All right, so quite a while later, you can see in the top left there, we do now have 81,888 LP. If we check with the divination sigil, we got the same number. Beautiful. I did add 6 runes of self-sacrifice to the altar here. They're not too difficult to make. They're just reinforced slates with blank runes, glowstone stone, and a blood orb, which you do get back. So that did increase the amount of LP that we get every time that we use a sacrificial knife. And I believe the way this works is that each rune of self-sacrifice gives you a 10% bonus. So if I sneak right-click here, it shows that you get a 10% bonus for each rune. And it is additive. So I think by default, every time you use the dagger, you get 200 LP per heart. So every single rune that you add gives you an extra 20. So if we just had 1 down, we'd get 220 per heart. If you had 2 down, you get 240 per heart. Then 260, 280, 300, and 320. So just with these down, we get 320 LP per heart. Then, after that, I believe the incense altar takes that 320 number and then gives you an extra 120% on top of that. So I think that takes it up to closer to 700. And then, we have 10 hearts that we use all at once whenever we use the sacrificial knife here. So we do get around 7,000 LP every single time that we use that, as opposed to like the 4,000 or 5,000 that we got previously. So it's a nice little upgrade there, which is good to have. Back over here, though, we should now be able to take our weak activation crystal, right-click it on the master ritual stone, and boom, it transforms the whole thing into this portal right here. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that all we have to do is right-click on this portal, and we get taken through to the Edge realm. which is not a web browser, but is a place where we can access the tau fruit that we're after in order to get the weak blood shards. So I believe the way this works, if we read on through here, it says, after right-clicking the central piece, you'll be transported to a room with 4 doors and a chest. If you're lucky, there'll be a key, or a few, in the chest, which opens the doors. You can also craft the key. In each room, you'll find some loot, monsters, spawners, and blocks from blood magic, which you can harvest. Don't try to break the doors. It won't generate the room. You must use the key. So the game did give us a key, just in case we didn't get any in here. Thankfully, we did get some in here as well, which is nice. We also got some recall potions, which will teleport us back to the overworld, as well as some slimy seeds, some bones, some wheat. We can come back for all this stuff in the future. For now, we are actually fully out of fruit salad. I think you can just right-click here to go back. You totally can. Yeah, we've spent so much time by the blood altar that we've managed to work through almost a stack of fruit salads. Thankfully, I do have a little sweet berry farm over here that we can quickly shift that to generate some more sweet berries and then craft into some more fruit salad to keep us going. Once we got some more fruit salads, back over here, we can take our keys and we can use those to open the doors. Now, we do have a sword, albeit a fairly bad one. Oh my goodness, he is faster and stronger than I was anticipating. Thankfully, we do have this jetpack, and so we can rise above them, quite literally. They're a lot faster than I was anticipating. I don't know if... oh yeah, I can fly up in here as well. Perfect. Ooh, there's actually a wither skeleton skull. That could prove very useful. So the thing that we're after here is tau fruit. That's really all we're after. They've got quite a bit of it, actually. Do we have, like, the salt button on this chest? I don't think we do. Oh, no, we totally do. Here we go. Got me a salt container. That's a lot easier to access. We can always take more of that in the future. Again, for now, we're really just after the tau fruit. A honing oil, eh? Interesting. I will take this wither skeleton skull. If we can get 3 of these, that's going to make spawning a wither and also getting... Nope, let me out. Spawning a wither and also getting all of the nether stars for the beacons that we're going to need significantly easier. We'll come back in the future to see if we can get those other wither skeleton skulls. For now, let's do a few things. We do have skeletons here in the overworld as well. Let's quickly get some torches for that lower level. Again, we do have night vision, which is why I never notice when we don't have enough torches down. I think the main problem is, if I press F7, the new area over here. Yeah, this area is the one that's causing trouble. I think we can put torches here. That's not going to be a problem. There does also appear to be a few X's down here, which is surprising because it's there's quite a lot of fire and stuff around. But either way, that's fine. Let's quickly get rid of these guys. Once all those guys are killed, we do get a cow spawn egg as a reward for getting the tau fruit. The reason for that is explained over here. It says tau fruit can be grown like any other crop, but if you grow it with a mob, for example a cow, standing on it, every time the fruit hits its next growth stage, it will leech life from the mob. Every time it does that, it has a 20% chance of becoming saturated. Patience is your friend here. So, I'm not gonna lie, I did try to get a saturated tau fruit, like, off stream. I loaded up a single player world and I tried to get a saturated tau. I couldn't do it for the life in me. I just could not get it to work. Maybe I was doing it wrong. I'm not too sure. I believe what it wants us to do is put down some tau on some dirt, place the cow above it, kind of fence it in. We even get fences as a reward here. But and then just let the tau fruit grow, and then you have a chance of getting it. I think it's just like such a low chance, unfortunately. Let's quickly make some fences. And then let's grab a piece of dirt. So, if I'm not mistaken, and we'll put down like a temporary little growth area here. We'll just put like a dirt here. We'll surround that with fence. I believe if we grab... I don't think you can just plant these on the ground. No, you gotta get a hoe. That's fine. Let's grab a hoe, which we might have in our backpack. We totally do. So we can do this. We can place down the tau fruit, like that. And then we can put a cow above the tau fruit. Like this. So I think this is correct. Based on what the quest book says and also what the guidebook says. Again, if you type in tau here, it does mention that tau fruit has an alternative, more challenging route of growth. A more challenging route of growth. If the plant matures with a mob, a cow for example, standing on top of it, it will leech health from the entity and then turn it into a saturated tau. Sounds easy enough. So... much like with the sweet berries, you can shift to make this grow faster. You'll see the little green particle effects there. Do make it grow quicker. I did this quite a few times in my single player world, and I never once got the Tau fruit. You'll see it's at 85%, and then if we give it a little longer, it goes to 100. So I don't know if it's the acceleration. Like, I don't know if accelerating it doesn't make it work. Again, I think that is the case, because I did it maybe 20 times in my single player world. I like twerked 20 times and made it grow fully, and I never got the saturated Tau. So I think we just have to kind of leave it and let it do its thing, and kind of periodically come back, harvest it, and hope that eventually we get the saturated Tau. Really, we only need one. Once we have one, we can get the large bloodstone bricks required to make the tier 4 altar, and then from there we only need the beacons in order to get a tier 5 altar. So I think that's kind of just what we're gonna have to do, is just wait for that to do its thing, and I just hope it doesn't take too long. People are telling me that some of the rooms in that other dimension do have pre-saturated Taus, like Taus that we can get that are already saturated. Real quick, I am going to put some new pants on, and also real quick, I'm going to get like a diamond helmet as well. Just in case. We should definitely invest, I think, in a better sword. Right now we've got a stone sword, which is not particularly great. However, at the moment, my plan really is just to dodge the zombies wherever possible. Yeah, there's quite a few of them here. So I'm hoping that we can just use our key, head on in, and then hopefully take... Oh, the wither skeletons as well. That's very interesting. If there's an actual wither skeleton spawner in here, which it looks like there is, again, that's going to make it significantly easier for us to... dexterity. For us to get the wither skeleton skulls that we need. Oh, come on, I just want to... No, I just need to get into... Need to get into there. All the wither skeleton skulls we're going to need in order to get all the beacons that we're after. Gosh, there are so many of them. Unfortunately, still no Tau. We do have a demon will, which is good. We might need that in the near future. Piercing, feather falling. There's some pretty good stuff in here, actually. I will use my final key here. It also says you can craft the keys, right? Which is would be interesting. Still no pre-saturated Tau. There is another wither skeleton skull, which I will go ahead and take. It is quite possible that there are more chests in rooms like this that I'm not seeing. Like, there might be one in that little hut over there. Still no Tau, which is unfortunate. Potato recovery 5. Interesting. There is a chest in there. Still no Tau, though. We got some Tau oil, which is nice, and tomato seeds. And quite a lot more Tau, but still not what we're after. Can I craft the iron key? You can craft the iron key with an imbued slate. It's a little expensive. Also, if we go back to the first room, this one here, there should be another chest. If you could get down. There should be another chest in here. I have a feeling that the contents of the loot chest here might be similar to what we saw before. Yeah, you can kind of see it in the top left there. It actually shows you what's in it. My goodness, there were so many zombies. What the heck? I just want to access the chest, guys. Yeah, unfortunately, still no Taus. Let me out. Gosh, there's so many of them. Jeez, get me out of here, please. All right. Well, that's unfortunate. We can quickly go check up on our other cow. However, I have a feeling it's not going to be anywhere near grown yet. However, that room full of zombies does lead me nicely onto kind of this section of the questline here. You'll notice that in order to get the weak blood shard, this is not the only quest required. We also need this quest here because, as we saw earlier, we need an alchemical reaction chamber, which in and of itself is not too difficult to make, but we also need this right here, the sanguine reverter, and this is where it gets a little tricky because in order to make a sanguine reverter, we need to get a hellfire forge with 1 imbued slate, 1 shear, 1 stone, and 1 iron, but the difficult part is that we have to have a device, a Tartaric gem, that can hold up to 350 will. So there's kind of a separate mechanic in blood magic related to these Tartaric gems. So the Hellfire Forge itself, pretty easy to make. In fact, we can probably make that right away here. Boom, we get a Hellfire Forge. Good stuff. Again, that was the easy part. And for now, we can go put that down, I guess, over next to our alchemy table. Like so. But now, what we need to do is we need to get our first Tartaric gem, which is this petty Tartaric gem. To get that, we need redstone, gold, lapis, glass, and then we need 1 will. So thankfully, getting 1 will shouldn't be too difficult. In fact, we do already have a demon will here, which I think we might be able to use. However, normally, what you would do is you would make a snare, this one right here, the soul snare, which is 1 string in the blood altar with 500 LP. Super easy for us to do. We'll take 1 string, and we'll go and drop that in here. Once that turns into a snare, you can then throw that snare at a mob. And then when you kill the mob that you hit with the snare, I think you might have to kill them with a regular sword. I don't know if killing them with the dagger of sacrifice works, but normally you make a snare, you throw that snare at a mob, and when you kill that mob, you should get a demon will. Usually it'll have a will quality that's a lot lower than that, but I believe at that point what you can then do is you can take that demon will and you can put it into the Hellfire Forge in order to make things that require will. So we've got 25 will, I believe, in this one. I don't know if we can use all 25 will, or if we can just use 1. We're about to find out. Let's quickly go and grab the other items that we need. I believe we needed lapis, gold, glass, and redstone, I think? Yes. Okay, perfect. So if we put all of those in here, so lapis, redstone, just the 1, you'll see the bar starts to fill up. And boom, it used 1 of the wills out of the 25 in the demon will that we found here, which is perfect. Again, normally the demon will that you get will have just a will quality of 1, I believe, if you kill a regular mob. And now that we have the petty Tartaric gem, this is basically a way of storing will. So right here it says, demon will is a very useful resource, but the fragments you have been getting so far are decidedly lacking in power. So those are the normal demonic wills that you get. You only get them and they only really hold like 1 will, normally outside of the super powerful ones that you can find in that dungeon. It says what you need is a storage item. A Tartaric gem seems to be just the thing. What's more, it will absorb any leftover demon will you might have lying around. Just drop them onto the floor and the shiny new gem will absorb them. So if we drop this onto the floor and we pick it up, you'll see here that this bar filled up and we now have 24.15 will inside of this petty Tartaric gem. So the idea here is that in order to get the Sanguine Reverter, that we need to get the Weak Blood Shard, that we need to get a tier 4 altar, that we're going to need to get the Creative Fluid Tank, what we need to do is we need to have a Tartaric gem that has 30 will in it, but that can hold 350. That's what the minimum there means. So we have to have 350, but it will only use 30. So what that essentially means is that if we look here, you'll see the petty Tartaric gem has a will quality of 64, the lesser has a will quality of 256, and then the common has a will quality of 1024. So we're going to have to get a common Tartaric gem and fill it up with 350 will. So to make the next tier of Tartaric gem, we need the petty Tartaric gem with a diamond, a block of redstone, lapis, and then we need to have 60 will in there. Right now, we only have 24. So I believe at this point, that's why we need this guy, the Sentient Sword. The Sentient Sword allows you to kill mobs and in return get demonic will. To make it, we need iron with a petty Tartaric gem, and thankfully 0 will is required there. So let's quickly go ahead and craft up an iron sword. I do believe, normally you put your demonic will storage over here, but I'm pretty sure if a recipe requires a Tartaric gem, it can use the will inside of that. So if I do this, it does work. You don't have to put another Tartaric gem over here. Even though that's kind of how it looks in the recipe, you don't need to. And there we go, Sentient Sword acquired. It is super weak by default, but now if we kill mobs with this sword, we should be able to fill up our Tartaric gem. So I think I messed up there, because I think making the sword used up my Tartaric gem, and my Tartaric gem had some will in it that would have been nice to have. Okay, that's not too bad. I did mess up, because now we have to get another will in order to make another Tartaric gem that can hold the will that we need to get. So what I am going to have to do this time is do it the old-fashioned way. Let's get some string. Let's drop that string in over here. We might need more than 1 snare. I don't think we should. You'll see the particle effects if you've done it correctly. So now if we kill this guy, we should hopefully get a demon will. There it is. Perfect. Once we have that demon will, we can once again come back down here, drop that in. This time we're going to do that with the same as before. We're going to do redstone, lapis, gold, and glass. Do we have all of those? We do not, because our inventory is absolutely full of things like melon seeds that we don't need. There's the glass. Did we get the gold? We did. Beautiful. Okay, so we'll head back down. We'll try that one more time. You'll see this time the demon wheel only has a quality of 1.41, so not particularly high. But it's a 1, 2, 3, and 4. There we go. We have our Tartaric gem. And so now the Tartaric gem is empty. But if we kill a mob using the sword here, you'll see that now we have a will quality of 1. If we do it again, we have a will quality of 2. So basically, we have to kill 64 mobs with the sword here, which is not particularly strong, in order to get the next gem, right? The next Tartaric gem requires requires 60 will, of which 20 will be drained. So we have to kill 60 mobs with this sentient sword. Once we do that, our Tartaric gem will have a will quality of 60. We can then take that, use it to upgrade to the next tier, which is the lesser Tartaric gem, at which point we then need to get that up to 240. So we have to kill 240 mobs with that lesser Tartaric gem in order to get to the common Tartaric gem. And then once we have the common Tartaric gem, we then have to get that up to 350. Once we have that up to 350, we can then get the augment, the sanguine reverter, required in order to get our weak blood shard. So it is a little bit of work to make that happen. But especially with the spawner that we have here, it should be doable. Earlier on, whilst we were doing some work with the blood altar, we did add a bunch more sugar to this spawner, which we also did earlier in the pack as well. We put just right-click sugar on here. I believe we've got the maximum amount of sugar in here now, so this is kind of as fast as it can be. The area is not massive, so we could probably make that better with a larger area. But I think, basically, what I'm going to do between streams is maybe head on back through to the dimension that we have over here. Because I think, especially given that we've got so much flight power in our jetpack, I think if we just sit out of reach, we might be able to kill a few of these zombies. They might move a bit fast. I'm actually not sure. Maybe we should look at enchanting our sword. Did we get... Oh, we did get looting 3. The game gave us another Tartaric gem, which I should have checked on first. And there's the iron sword we needed. We didn't need to make that either. But it might be worth adding sharpness to this. Maybe what we'll do at the start of the next stream, I'm going to head back here. Maybe what we'll do at the start of the next stream is we'll look at adding like sharpness, look at enchanting this sword to hopefully get it to do more damage. I do believe, you'll notice that the damage has gone up a bit. I do believe that this gets more powerful the more demonic will you have in your local Tartaric gem. So as the will quality of this goes up, the strength of this goes up, like it will start killing faster as well. You'll see here, once we get the lesser Tartaric gem, which is fairly soon, we do then get Sweeping Edge as a reward. And then we also get Sharpness 5 as a reward after that. So the quest book here does kind of make it easier for us to do this. I think we're just going to have to get the initial, like, 60, the old-fashioned way. Once we have that, we can then maybe start looking at getting it a little bit easier using those mobs in the other dimension. Unfortunately, though, we are out of time for today's stream. So next time, what we'll do, we'll come back. We'll hopefully upgrade the sword a little bit. Try and get the 60 wills that we need in order to upgrade to the next Tartaric gem. Hopefully eventually get to the common Tartaric gem, get ourselves the sanguine reverter, hopefully get our first saturated towel. I will maybe spend a bit of time between streams like harvesting this when it grows and then allowing it to reset and hopefully try and get a saturated towel for us. Then we can get our weak blood shards, we can get our tier 4 blood altar. Hopefully that won't take us too long. And then once we have that, it also shouldn't be too difficult for us to get the beacons required for the tier 5 altar, especially given how easy it seems to be to get wither skeletons and wither skeleton skulls in the new blood magic dimension. And at that point, we then just need to start working on getting 1,000,000 life points into the blood altar. And for that, there are some rituals like the Well of Suffering that we can do to accelerate the speed at which we can get life points in the altar. And we're also going to, of course, have to increase the capacity of the altar to actually be able to hold 1,000,000 life points, because right now it can hold nowhere near that amount. In fact, currently, it can only hold 20,000. So getting that up to 1,000,000 is going to require quite a few runes of augmented capacity. But I think we can do it. I think we can make it work. And I think we can get our first creative item within the next episode or two. For now, though, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the Cave Factory portion of today's stream there.